Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to our show on YouTube. It's fun. It's funny. I break this guy's balls. His wig looks crazy every week, but it's still worth doing it. Check out these badass shirts we got right now. Check it out.
Even though Mario's on it, you'll still learn something, and it's still some insightful analysis. And then I bring the funny, and I don't know what he brings.
No.
What are you talking about? I'm the star of the show here.
You bring the grumpy.
Oh, but the grumpy. Anyway, like and subscribe.
Yes,
3
please.
Knockdown
We
Rule.
appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mario Omaha Lopez.
Hey, I cannot wait to tell you about the whole weekend. Quick shout out, though, to Smoking Tim Frazier.
We've got a jam-packed show, the Bout Sheet. It was Bud Supremacy in Las Vegas. We have fight review and preview, Ask Mario, and Final Flurries.
Listen, the number of horror stories I've been hearing lately about these GLP-1 programs is terrifying. Here's what you need to know if you're taking it. If you're thinking about it, first off, do not get roped into the expensive membership fees. LifeRx will set you up with GLP-1 for just $250 a month flat, no membership, and the price doesn't go up. Second, you got to make sure the provider is really someone you can trust, because a lot of these companies just popping that out of nowhere. You got to check the reviews, their BBB status. Got to make sure they're legit. And last, make sure the meds are coming from here, the good old USA of A, FDA-registered pharmacies, because there's sketchy dudes out there. That's why LifeRx, they've been around for years. They've got thousands of reviews and success stories. Top-notch customer service. Recommend checking them out. Tell them Mario Lopez sent you.
And folks, this podcast is brought to you by Hustler Casino starting September 1st. All Cal games, jackpots are doubling in size every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. All day long. Love Baccarat, 3-card poker, blackjack, and other Cal games. Now's the perfect time to play and win double the jackpots. Stop by, get in the game, and see how big you can win at Hustler Casino or find out more at hustlercasino.com.
Round 1.
All right. It was undisputed at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, brought to you by Netflix in front of a worldwide audience. And the new super middleweight champion of the world, Terrence Bud Crawford, with a 12-round decision over Saul Canelo Alvarez. Your scores, 115, 113 twice, and we'll talk about that later, and 116, 112. Mario, your thoughts?
I had the privilege and honor of being at the stadium, almost at arena, but it was a stadium with over 70,000 people, and it was rocking. It felt like a rock concert, and I saw Terrence Bud Crawford paint a masterpiece. Was always a huge fan. Loved him as a fighter, and even personally, because he's sort of a salty bastard, but a really nice guy.
He's a serious human being.
He's a serious human being, and he takes his craft seriously. And I always knew he was a brilliant fighter, but, eating a little crow, I just thought the inactivity over 400 days and Canelo, obviously being the natural bigger guy, the more active guy, the younger guy on paper, would prove to be too much for a guy taking that much time off and jumping up really 3 weight classes, because it was a quick pit stop at 154. Boy, was I wrong. It's funny, Kim. So right before the fight, my wife was with me, right? And we're about to watch the fight, and they're introducing the fighters, and she leans over and she goes, I can't believe that I sang the national anthem to the Canelo Triple G fight over 9 years ago. Yeah. And I was just kind of shaking my head, and I just, for some reason, that struck a chord with me, and I'm like, wow, he's been champion for a long time. And then I don't know why, at that moment, I felt, does he get old tonight? Is something gonna, you know what I mean? Is he gonna, because that, she really put it into perspective, like, he's been on top for a long time. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Bud, because he was fantastic. But that was a Canelo who looked like he was tired, who looked like he'd been fighting professionally since he was 15, who looked like he couldn't pull the trigger anymore. And his mind was there, and it just looked like the body wasn't reacting. And as I thought it, in the post-fight fight press conference, he actually verbalized it and said it. Both guys were class acts. I love the way they handled the fight. The whole thing was just beautiful inside and out. A lot of times these fights don't deliver when it's a huge event, but this one did. But the combination of Canelo, and again, even though he's 2 years younger, age-wise, round-wise, I think he's got, I don't know how many more hundreds of rounds than Crawford. And just the battles with Triple G and all these guys just throughout the years, I think eventually just sort of caught up to him. Not to the point where he necessarily has to call it a day, although he could, and there's nothing else he needs to prove. But at the highest of elite levels, I don't know if physically he is capable to do the things he was once able to do. There's a lot of tread on those tires, and I just think there's some, whatever analogy you want to use, some miles off that fastball. He's still crafty. He's still obviously very skilled and talented. But at that level, when you're fighting a guy, a much fresher Bud Crawford, you're not able to kind of pull it off. And you could tell, bro, he had, and this is a stat, 7 jabs. A total of 7 jabs into the 11th round, Kim. 7 jabs. You're not setting anything up with just 7 jabs. He was winging a lot of those big shots, going for a lot of home run shots, wasn't able to counter successfully. Even on the inside, you can tell the strength of Crawford, even though he's not as heavy-handed, he's that wrestling strength. He got those underhooks. He was even able to move him around. Bud and I talked about it afterwards, and he was like, yeah. He stayed in the pocket with him. Brilliant fight on Crawford. Caught Canelo at the perfect time. And I tip my hat to both Crawford for the beautiful performance and Canelo for just being this box office star for so long and carrying the sport. His back must hurt, because the next question becomes, who takes the mantle? Yes, Crawford is the man of the moment. Yes, he deserves all the love and the accolades. Does he fill in a stadium with 72,000 people, though, Kim? Well, that's a different question.
Well, the question is, does he do it as the undisputed A side? He was the B side here. That is the reality.
That's my point.
Couple of things. Alvarez is now closer to 70 fights than he is to 50 by a good amount.
Yep.
There's a lot of miles on the boxing odometer, and even though Terrence Crawford is 2 to 3 years older and is going to be 38 at the end of this month, he has about 2/3 the amount of fights.
That's huge.
And he's a much fresher athlete. I want to make a couple points here, though. We thought the fact that Crawford was going to try to win may work against him. I don't think it did, because there's a particular reason why Alvarez has been choosing guys the way he has. You know why? Their victory is getting the pen for all that money and signing the contract and saying, gee, thanks, Canelo. Crawford, in terms of his competitive edge, he's pathological.
Well, that's the thing. I thought that would work against him, because I thought that the Canelo, and again, going back to my wife's reference, I don't know why I thought I'd see the Canelo that fought Triple G maybe the first 2 times, right? So he'd be able to answer with those fluid combinations. Or even guys more his size. When he fought Billy Joe Saunders and Ryder, look, he broke Ryder's face, broke his nose, dropped him, literally broke the orbital bone in the face.
But that's about 4.5 years, 5 years too, though. That was during the pandemic.
That's my point. That's my point. Those guys were this size. I think just the time caught up, and just gone are the jabs, gone are the fluid combos. He's just trying to time you and launch. And if you got a savvy, crafty guy like Crawford, who's not afraid to stay in that pocket, that's not going to be enough.
Here's what I think. Crawford understood when to go into the pocket.
True.
See, I thought he boxed well early on, and then around 7 or 8, he said, you know what, I could take this. I've softened him up a little bit.
Yep.
Also, the trigger pull, the fluidity of combinations. And I talked to 2 people in the Crawford camp on Thursday night. Turkey had the special VIP show. His lawyer was there and one of the camp members. One of them flat out predicted a knockout. The other guy just said, well, I'm going to tell you this, Steve. They're going to be surprised by our power. Now, was Crawford a devastating puncher that night? No. Punched hard enough that Canelo had second thoughts, that he couldn't just bull his way in. And the one thing about Crawford, he understood that certain punches were going to come at certain times, and he caught a lot of them. For the first time, though, if you look at Saul Alvarez, I was kind of on your side thinking, it's a little big, the physics of it. Halfway through the skull fight, when I'm watching it at the Mexican sports bar, Los Hooters, and I'm watching this, and I said, I see it. And I got the same feeling that when Stevie Forbes was touching up De La Hoya, I said, you know what? There's a guy ready to be beat here.
Well, so hold on. I'm glad you brought that up, because I saw the same fight, and I honestly thought Because that guy
It was just Skull. It was just
I
Skull.
thought it was just Skull doing his Mario Andretti
Yeah.
impression and going Indy 500 four corners of the
The
bus.
Lance Armstrong.
That's it. And I thought, okay,
Yeah.
Canelo is not going to waste his time or energy, even though he's getting paid a ton of dough, to really try to cut off the ring and take this dude out. He's just going to take the easy sort of victory to not, I guess, waste as much energy or try to throw a monkey wrench in this showdown that is looming with Crawford for all this money. I honestly thought he was just not. Never did I think it's not because he's not physically capable to do it anymore.
Well, Mario, think about this, though. In the last 3 years post-Bivol, Charlo did not try to win. Munguia gave a token effort. Berlanga, his victory was saying that, hey, I went the distance, and let me throw myself a victory parade, right? Teddy Atlas calls it the silent agreement. Hey, don't do too much. I won't do too much, but let's just go by the script, and we'll all be happy for it. Crawford reads his own script, and he's an absolute Doberman in there, and he's got that gene that the special fighters have. They raise their limits. Say what you want about Spence, say what you want about Canelo, but on the biggest stage of his career, he elevated his skills. Now, I want to talk about the scorecards. We had some issues, and we raised questions about the likes of Tim Cheatham. The fact that the fight was scored 5-5 on both Cheatham and Max DeLuca's card, I think is insanity. I believe, to me, that there's an old saying that I was taught by an old boxing guy, that fighters fight for today, judges judge for tomorrow. And I remember my score was about 7-3, but I said to Coach JB, because we're doing a live stream, I said, JB, I'm going to tell you this right now. Crawford better understand the politics and what nearly happened to Bivol. He better win at least one, if not two. My personal card was 116-112. Looking back, I gave Crawford 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, and 12. And I gave Canelo 1, 5, 8, and 10. In my view, there is no way you could even make this a draw. But Crawford's camp, they told me, Steve, we understood what happened with Bivol. We knew we had to win the 12th. And there's two taxes that I hate in Vegas. That's the resort tax fee. They always get you with that. And the Canelo tax. Because this guy's up 3-0 before every single fight.
I have no problem with 8-4 whatsoever. I think Coppinger had it like 7-5, who I was there. I mean, that's even kind of getting dicey. But bottom line, it was very clear that Crawford should and would get his hand raised, or that would have been a true travesty. And dare I say, it was a great fight because of what we witnessed and the way he overcame all the different odds that we were talking about. I don't know if it deems a rematch, though.
Well, I heard that Bill Simmons, who has some good sources, he's a connected guy, said there's like a rematch in play. And I'm thinking, it's one of those fights that as it's happening because of the stakes,
We don't need to see it again.
It's tense. You like it. Like you're into it.
Correct.
But in 5-6 months, when we're at your house hanging out, we're not going to say there's nothing on TV. Let's watch a fight.
No.
We're pulling out Castillo, Corrales, Vasquez,
Sure.
Marquez, Gaddy. That's the type of fight that trainers use as an instructional guide.
Right.
But we don't watch it for entertainment purposes.
If it was Mbili, Lester Martinez.
No, that's another story.
That's another story. But I don't, and I, okay. As far as what's next, the bigger question to me, and what made me sort of sad, is like, not only is Canelo looking a little longer in the tooth, and his back must be killing him from carrying the sport. Because at the end of the day, as great as Crawford is, and he's truly remarkable that I think could compete in any era. And I told you, and even Canelo, I love the way these guys carry themselves post-fight too. Gave him props saying, I even think he's better than Mayweather as far as he's defensively sound, but also much more offensive. And, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, remember, he stood in the pocket.
He's the only one that can.
Floyd didn't.
He did not. He's the only one that can claim that too because, and by the way, Floyd caught him young and made him go dehydrated a little bit.
52.
Made him to go to 52 for the so yeah. So take that for what it is. Here's the thing. He goes away. Who fights on these weekends? Who fights on these weekends?
No. Everyone fights on the weekends, but who's the guy that you can tell your wife, honey, we're not doing anything.
Exactly.
Don't call over the in-laws. We're not taking a vacation.
When I said these weekends, I meant Cinco de Mayo.
You mean the circle of calendar dates.
The circle of the calendar dates. Because we went from Chavez to De La Hoya
to Floyd and Manny
to Canelo.
Yeah.
But that guy at 38 now.
Jake Paul. You may joke about it,
No,
but
I'm telling you, I feel like he's pushing.
He's all, but Not on this weekend.
No, I mean...
He's an anomaly where he'll do big business, but he can't fill in. These are serious fight weekend people. You know what I mean? These are serious folks.
But I think he's trying to push himself to be serious.
But Mario, I've been asking that question for about a year and a half, that when he walks off into the sunset, we're never going to get another superstar that has 50-plus fights that through his sheer activity penetrates middle America. Right? Because if you're going to be a guy like Shakur Stevenson, who's supremely gifted, but has been a twice-a-year fighter for about, 6-7 years, you can't penetrate the market. There's going to be no casual fan that says, I know that guy. I think a lot of casual fans, even if they're not Mexican, they kind of know who the redhead is from Mexico.
Absolutely.
So activity matters. I'll say this about Crawford. Who's the next great American iconic fighter that has this type? Look at Crawford's career. 135 won his first title on the road against Ricky Burns. He was probably the best lightweight from that day on. 140, undisputed. 147, undisputed. Won a belt at 54, undisputed at 68. Question has to be asked. He's an all-time great. How high of an all-time great is he? Because there are tiers.
I can put him in any era, and I think he's competitive, or or he's a 50-50 dog in it. I think so.
Doug Krikorian, the legendary writer that I grew up reading, really with the Herald Examiner, he told me 3 years ago at dinner at Phil Trainees, he said, not only do I think Crawford's the best fighter of this current generation, he's the best one I've seen since Sugar Ray Leonard. And he covered all those four Kings fights. And I said, well, wait a minute, Doug, wait a minute. Better than De La Hoya, Pacquiao, Roy Jones, Trinidad, Winky Wright, Bernard. He says he's number one. I mean, Doug absolutely said, Steve, this fight's going to be one-sided. Talked to Doug today. You know who else thought he was the best fighter post-Ray Leonard? The great Jerry West. That man knew talent. God bless the logo.
He did, and I have no problem with that statement. And, again, I could sing the accolades of Bud Crawford all day. Here's the difference between him and De La Hoya and Pacquiao. Those guys were stars.
They were the ace side.
They were the ace stars. They were great, and they were great, and they also had the talent around them, opponents, to be great.
Dance partners.
They had the dance partners. Unfortunately for Bud, outside of maybe the Spence and Canelo fight,
you know what part of but
that's not his fault.
No, the Terrence Crawford story, there's going to be a few chapters devoted to being on the wrong side of the street and the politics of the business with the PBC.
So many things have to align for it to work out. Again, just using De La Hoya and Pacquiao for examples. Those guys were incredible fighters. They also had great dance partners in opponents, and they also had star quality. Dates that you could circle the calendar around them. It was like Elvis in the building.
They were tent-pole performers.
That is hard to find. Kim. So my question to you is Crawford a tent-pole performer right now?
No. He's just an incredibly gifted, accomplished, all-time great. And you're right.
Even after that performance, huh?
It depends on who he fights. It depends on who he...
So he needs the partner.
Think about this. Without Turkey Al-Sheikh, this fight never happens.
No, I understand.
I understand, I'm just saying.
Okay, but it did. I'm trying to get to who's the next star. Who is carrying it? And you're saying he's not.
Well, let's put it this way. If he went back to Allegiant Stadium, if he did not fight Canelo, is there 70,000 people in that building?
No.
No. Is there 41 million people watching on Netflix, watching you host? No.
45 million, but no.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to make that clear. Mario, I think it's clear right now that post-Mayweather-Pacquiao, he is the fighter of this generation. Ring Magazine today came out and said he's now number one pound for pound over Usyk and Inoue. Do you agree with that?
See, okay.
Ooh, here we go.
No, here's the thing. With that said, it's almost like you got to put him on an even tier, bro.
Yeah.
How can you overlook Usyk when he too unified at cruiserweight, unified at heavyweight,
and is moving up in more weight, really is facing bigger guys.
He's facing guys 6 inches taller, 50 pounds bigger, and he's beating them twice.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what I mean? So I'm saying they're right here. I still put Usyk a little bit. And then how can you not, though? How can you not?
And you know what? And he's only fighting once a year. People are dinging him on that. And Inoue's been pretty active, but I think with those three, we really are splitting hairs. That is lethal weapon
that's
3.
That's exactly it. But I think before we move on, I think I'm just concerned about the sport now. The reason I keep harping on the box office story because I'm concerned about
Mario,
the sport. Who are we seeing next year?
I have not been talking about this
We've
for at
been
least
talking
3
about
years.
it forever. That's what I'm saying. Who are we? I don't know.
Because
there is no one.
I had a large discussion with Larry Merchant. We're going back and forth, and he's one of the people that say, Steve, there's always going to be a next guy. And I said, Larry, here's the problem. There was always a next guy when there's an HBO and Showtime,
Yes.
USA Tuesday Night Fights, regional shows, more activity, network coverage, newspapers covering it, and fighters not becoming twice-a-year fighters after their 17th fight just because they win a title.
Right.
There was a mechanism. It was always like this assembly line, right?
Right.
And if you went through that thing, that system, someone through their grace of God and skill and marketability would make it. That mechanism does not exist currently.
We were talking about it even post-fight, and Antonio Tarver was bringing up, like, hey, man, it's time for you to make that $100 million. And with all due respect, does that mean, like, you got to have that certain rock, you got to be that certain rock star fighter. It's not just about your ability. You got to have that
intangible. It's the it factor.
Yeah, exactly. And that benefits everyone involved in the sport.
And by the way, back then, those stars fought more than once or twice a year. Keep that in mind. All right, we come back. More of the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino.
Catch it streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking
For my fans.
What? Twice.
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Raise it up.
Review preview.
All right, there was an undercard at Allegiant Stadium, and what stole the show, Christian Mbili battles Lester Martinez to a 10-round draw, and calumwalsh with a 10-round decision over Fernando Vargas Jr., and Brandonadams once again defeats Sergey Boachuk in 10. Well, Mario, Mbili Martinez, what a battle that was.
Fight of the year?
Well, it'll be invited to the banquet.
It'll be invited.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what made it so impressive too. These dudes were built like the ship brick houses. So the fact that they look like action figures out there throwing, you know what I mean? It made it even look cooler. Like there was some really gladiator-esque. Boy, that was really close. It looked like Lester Martinez was going to pull away, but Mbili did not go quietly into the night. But yeah, that was quite the entertaining fight.
I didn't understand this. It's like a WBC interim title fight, and why was it 10? I know a couple gamblers were wondering, and I'll be honest, and I love Christian, but if that's a 12-round fight, I think Martinez may have had the edge.
The momentum was definitely going that way. You're right. It was. Those 2 rounds would have made a huge difference.
There's a particular pattern. If you can overcome the early blitzkrieg of Mbili and you settle it down and you kind of get him on the outside, he's there to be hit, and Martinez is one of these guys. He's been active. He's fought on Pro Box. He's solid and tough. This result does not surprise me in the least. Mario, calumwalsh and Fernando Vargas Jr. It's a small critique of the production. I thought they were much better off leading off the broadcast, the main portion, than having Mbili and Martinez come right before the main event.
Yeah, I mean, I could see their thinking, right? You have 2 young fighters right in the thick of their prime, both undefeated. You want to see which one's the true prospect, which one may be the pretender. Yeah. And on paper, it seems like it's going to be an action-packed fight. Granted, they're both southpaws. That's always a little tricky. Look, as far as the fight, they let their hands go. I was really impressed with Fernando Vargas Jr. and that he was able to, I thought, overperformed in the sense. A lot of people thought maybe he was a little carefully handled going in. I thought he can hold his head up high. I thought he performed really well. calumwalsh was a bit more active, started to get more accurate with his punches down the stretch. He obviously got the nod, but I thought both young guys, these are the kind of fights that if you still give a good outing, you don't go away with your stock dropped. Callum's obviously going to be able to accelerate that move, but Junior can still, be in the mix here.
Yeah, watching that fight, it reminded me of one of the axioms of Teddy Brenner. Never put 2 left-handers in the ring at the same time. And Mario, I hate to say it because he's a friend of the show and he's handled by our good friend Tom Loeffler. Sergey Boachuk looks like a faded guy. Looked like he was underwater.
I'm so surprised by that. And I didn't, just because the last time we've seen him the last couple of times, I didn't know if it was a case, Kim, of psychologically sometimes when a guy knocks you out, he may just have your number and it's hard to kind of overcome that. But he did look a little drained for me. I don't know, was the weight or maybe just because I like the guy.
Really
know the guy.
slow off the trigger, man.
Yeah.
I'm just
that's
telling
another
you.
guy that was built like an action figure that looked like he was ready to go.
That style, though, Mario, when it goes down, it goes off a cliff, though, because it's a high-action energy style. Certain guys like Hopkins, it's like this really slow erosion, and they know how to make up for it. If you're a volume puncher that can't get your hands going, that's a tough way to be a volume puncher because he doesn't really have that one-punch eraser. He relies on being active. Also, Sunday morning from the land of the rising sun, Nagoya, Japan, from the IG, not Instagram, arena, and still the undisputed junior featherweight champion of the world, the monster Inoue with a clear-cut 12-round decision over MJ Akhmadaliev, 118-110 twice, 117-111. Mario, I would say instead of being spectacular, that Inoue on this night was solid, sound, and I think this is the version we're going to get at featherweight as he faces even bigger guys. A little bit more of a boxer, maybe not be the kamikaze for use of a better word, but he's going to piece you up with a lot of fast combinations, and he's going to understand one thing. These other guys may hit even harder at 26.
Well, for someone as powerful and with the physical abilities that he has, that he's able to kind of switch and go to another level, kick into another gear with that, especially as the competition continues to get tougher, it's all the more impressive. And again, he is so incredibly active, and the talent, talk about dance partners, this guy has had pretty much a who's who, for his weight class, of course, of opponents. It's hard not to knock him off that tier that we talk about for pound.
And by the way, Akhmadaliev in the beginning
he's a real fighter.
No, he was. Akhmadaliev was number 2 in Ring Magazine's ratings coming in. He used to be a unified champion about 2-3 years
That's
ago.
what I'm saying.
And in a way, with those early body shots and that speed, and there was a particular uppercut off the ropes, Akhmadaliev didn't quit, but his will to win dissipated real quickly, and he started to kind of be like a little bit more careful. And right around the 8th, 9th round, I got the sense that Akhmadaliev was there in body, but he was not there in spirit to actually win the fight. Looks like Inoue now in late December will be taking on the artist David Picasso.
Look at that.
That'll be his 4th fight of 2025.
Casey, how can you not put that guy in your pound for pound when he's that active?
Think about this. Think about the 8, 9, 10 best American fighters that we know of. If they all fought 3-4 times, that alone would make boxing much better in the States.
That might give us a start that
right.
we need.
Moving on to fight preview. Saturday from Fantasy Springs, Goldenboy has a show on The Zone. One of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound, WBA and WBO minimum weight champion Oscar Callozo takes on Jasonboxer. And the women's flyweight champion Gabriel Fundura takes on Alexis Kubicki. Also on this card, prospects Joel Herarte, Gael Cabrera, Ruslan Abdullayev, and Grant Flores. Again, that is on The Zone.
News and notes.
Mario, very sad, stunning news on Sunday morning as I woke up. It was reported, and it's been confirmed, Ricky Hatton has passed away at the age of 46 at his home in Greater Manchester, and they are saying it is not suspicious, but sad news regardless.
We don't know the cause of death yet?
No.
He was training for...
and he also had some like mental health issues. Look, post-boxing had been a little bit tough for him. Wasn't completely smooth waters.
You know, what a bolt of lightning when he came into the sport.
No doubt.
And he came in with such fanfare, and the British fans would come. And
it was an invasion.
It was
a British invasion.
And you would hear, "There's only one Ricky Hatton forever." They I don't know why they chose Winter Wonderland, but they chose Winter Wonderland to incorporate into his name, and it would just be like thunderous, and you could hear it through the stadium. It was great. Didn't matter who was fighting, and it was always a pleasure to kind of watch him fight. Just like an honest guy, gritty, blue-collar fighter, a nice guy too. And that's too young, man. I heard that, and that made me sad.
Yeah, and at our age, Mario, when someone younger dies, I really think it's tragic. Like when someone 85, 90 dies, you say, you know what, that's a full life.
It's a good run.
But
yeah, wait till we get 85, 90.
Well, no. Okay.
For lucky enough.
Let's hope. Let's knock on wood. Right.
Exactly.
One thing
You're
about
closer than I am.
Shut up.
Kim's got like 10 years.
Ricky Hatton had an everyman quality, which I think really sparked his appeal. And having covered some of his bigger fights in the U.S. against Jose Luis Castillo, then it was Floyd Mayweather, then it was Manny Pacquiao, he didn't always win the fights. But his fan base always won pre-fight, and they always won the weigh-in, and they won the audience until the fight. They were great for boxing.
You know, it's funny because we were just talking about star appeal. He had it.
Yes, he did.
Even though he wasn't technically maybe the best fighter in the world at those particular moments, he was certainly very good, but he had that star appeal, and he made his opponents sort of raised their game, and it made their fights bigger events.
You know, when I started covering boxing, a lot of the foreign fighters would never come to America. He's the one guy that not only came to America, he brought his whole fan base, and it kind of bridged the two industries together.
That's expensive, by the way.
No, it is, but the fans were great.
No,
I met a lot of them.
Now you got to really be a fan to come all the way over.
Oh, by the way, at the Thursday night card, there are British fans coming up to me. I love the podcast.
Oh, that's great.
Well, that's nice of you, bloke. Yeah, but rest in peace to the hitman, Ricky Hatton. Mario, in much lighter news, I got confirmation from two sources. It's being reported, but I got it straight from the horse's mouth. It looks like in December, Lamont Roach will be taking on Pitbull Cruz. Interesting fight.
I like that fight.
Yeah.
That's a fun fight. It would seem to bode well stylistically for Roach.
Because he's gonna have fastballs right down the middle.
Fastballs right in the middle. I mean, listen, Cruz a lot to handle, but that's a fun, good fight. I'd like to see him continuing his career.
I'm just glad Lamont got a fight this year. I mean,
Exactly.
did you know the date of the Tank Davis fight was March 1? So we're now in the middle of September, and he got left at the altar. So I'm glad that Lamont gets to cash a check, ply his trade, but he's in for a dogfight come December. All right, moving on. We're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino. And folks, are you looking to get involved with 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor a show? We have some spots available. Please email us at info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on boxbid.io. They handle our sponsorships, and we are proudly working with boxbid.io. Ask Mario segment begins with Michael Montero, our good friend. Guys, how would you compare the production value to other big shows you've been to? From what I saw on the broadcast, they really did an excellent job. Raised the bar. Mario, you were on the front lines. Tell us.
I thought they did an excellent job as well. I thought the production was top notch. Now, keep in mind, this is only their second fight, really. They had the Paul Tyson card, and then now the legitimacy with this huge event, and I thought they did a great job, and they're really happy and look forward to the next one.
Can we compliment Mario's hair as well?
Good
It was
job
very
on
tall.
That. Good job.
Well, the wig was on point.
It looked amazing.
My wig was on point.
A lot of
that day.
compliments.
That dry, in the water.
I heard
Vegas.
there's a picture of you hanging out in the Smithsonian now of that night.
Just the wig.
A couple things. I actually, just a critique. I'm beginning to think that Netflix on these shows should only do 1 or 2 undercard fights and then just go to the main event.
Listen. I was joking.
Oh, so you agree?
Hold on a second. Because I was working. I had to work the next day to go to the Emmys, so that was crazy. But here's the only thing. The only guys that were tougher in the ring than Crawford and Canelo were all the people on the East Coast fighting to stay awake to watch the fight. Because, bro.
It was almost 1 o'clock a.m. by the time the two fighters for the main event were in the ring.
Exactly. What then how do you go to bed? And then you're going to watch it. That was the only thing.
Right. So I would just say, look, let's make it like an old school HBO broadcast. Co-feature, main event. And look, Dana White himself has said, I don't need to hear a podcast in between every fight. And there were a couple of podcasts in between some of the fights. But again, again, they're new at this. They can improve.
They're new at this, and also keep in mind, I think he was balancing UFC Noche.
Yeah.
In San Antonio.
That matters too.
So I think
that is a dynamic. Here's one from David. Mario, towards the end of the fight, when Canelo kept stopping and walking away, what were you thinking? And Mario, last weekend, you must have heard a ton of rumors about the future happenings with TKO, Netflix, Turkey, and Dana. Come on, tell us something juicy.
Well, as far as Canelo, I was thinking what I thought when my wife told me she sang over 9 years ago, that he is looking older.
Yeah.
He does look tired. A guy that's been fighting for 20 years.
The word is weathered.
Weathered. He was like an old glove. That guy used his whole
the leather's kind of fraying. Exactly. It's a little abrasive.
Exactly. He looked wet, and And in that particular moment, in those late rounds, he looked frustrated because of that. Because I think he knew what he wanted to do, but his body wasn't allowing him to.
Yeah, and as for what's going on with TKO, Netflix, Turkey, and I mean, look, we all heard the rumors. Have you heard anything specific you can share? Or are they just going to move forward with 2026?
Other than they do want to continue to put on more shows, I think specifically just kind of big events. That's all I heard. They're sort of trying to figure it out.
Okay, and here's one from Hamed. Guys, has Terrence Crawford overtaken Floyd Mayweather? Also, could Crawford become undisputed champion at middleweight, or is Janibek too good or elusive for Bud?
So 2 things. As far as overtaking Mayweather, I prefer to watch a Crawford fight over a Mayweather fight. You were talking about, hey, we're going to go back and let's throw on one of the old fights. I would prefer to watch a Crawford fight over a Mayweather fight.
Especially at welterweight where he stopped like 9-10 guys in a row.
Exactly. Any fight, I think.
And he's mean.
Exactly. He's mean. He's got a killer instinct. He lets his hands go. So for me, on an entertainment level, yes. I've always said, I think Crawford beats the same opponents that Mayweather has faced. Do you agree with that statement?
Tim Bradley, our good friend, who's dying to get on with us, by the way.
I bet. Yeah,
he's waiting for you, Lopez.
We got it.
He told me this 3-4 years ago when he first said, I actually think Crawford's better than Mayweather. So we're talking, we had a private...
I kind of said that.
And you know what he said? He said, Steve, put it to you this way. Look at Mayweather's box rec. Look at his record. What do you think Crawford's record is? It's probably the same, but with more knockouts.
Exactly. And listen, Canelo, who's been in the ring with both of them,
He has a preference.
He has a preference, and that was Bud Crawford. What was the second part of that question?
The second part is Bud Crawford at 160.
Yes.
I love that.
So I talked to Bud afterwards. He came up to the desk, and he says, I don't know, man, maybe go back, because I said, what's next? I go, this is the perfect, because Kriegel was trying to get him to ride off into the sunset as the perfect. And I said, Bud, you look like, I said, the fact that you came in here with all the time off and looked like you hadn't skipped a beat, brother, better than ever. And I go, Is there another act? Are we going to continue? What's next? And he's like, you know what, man? I'm gonna sit about, relax with the family, do all that. He goes, but maybe middleweight. He goes, I'm thinking middleweight. I'm thinking, bro, if he goes to middleweight and somehow becomes undisputed,
think about this.
Then like
Janibek is unified, so that's 2 belts. The other belts are with Adamus and Lara, who I'd make Terrence a clear favorite.
Yes. Janibek's a tough fight.
It is.
Am I crazy
so
to say
that's
a
a
tough
great
fight?
feather in his cap.
Yes.
He may get no credit from the casuals, but a lot of people are like,
Yes.
wait, are you beat Janibek at age 38, 39?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Janibek's a tough fight.
And that's the type of fight that for a guy like me, I would say, look, I don't care how much credit the general sports media gives him. I'm going to give him a ton of credit for even taking that fight.
Not? Exactly.
Here's one from Cody Ferguson. All credit to Bud. But after Inoue's performance, are we premature in crowning him the greatest of a generation? And is it clear now that Canelo's last few fights weren't flukes? He's clearly moved into gatekeeper status. The willingness to throw just isn't there.
That's exactly what we've been saying. This whole show, it looks like I don't know if it's the willingness.
It's the ability.
It's the ability. Exactly. Yeah. It's the ability. So yes, in that point, and again, I think all those guys are on that same tier.
Yeah.
You can make an argument for all of them. Had Bud gone to 60 and beat Janibek, and unified, and then did this, then maybe he goes up.
But I will say this, and we talk about the star power of Bud. Bud is at least now at the level that in the past people found reasons to avoid him. I think he has more leverage now to say, I want to fight these guys, and those guys would say, hold on, we want some of this money.
Yeah.
So I think that much has changed for Bud Crawford in terms of the business of boxing. Here's one from Clay Stevenson. Hey, Mario, now that the smoke is clear, who was the better fighter at their best? Canelo or Oscar? I got Oscar with comfort.
Well, they're 2 different fighters completely with 2 different styles. Both were blessed in that they had great opponents and that star quality. Oscar was able to kind of transcend too, being Mexican and American, and so was Canelo. And my God, his English got so great. So it's sort of just different eras. 2 huge stars, great for the sport, different eras. I don't know if it's hard to pick kind of a
in big fights, I would take Oscar, and I'll say this. I do think Floyd edged Oscar in 2007. I thought that fight was really close, though.
Super close.
And so
super close. I was sitting next to 50 Cent,
Right.
who was riding with Floyd Mayweather, and he leaned over to me. I'll never forget. He goes, "Hey, man, looks like your boy won." He thought Oscar
Really?
won.
Oh,
yes,
man.
he thought Oscar won.
And
a lot of people did too, by the way.
Mayweather blanked Canelo. No matter what CJ Can't Judge Ross says, that fight was 11-1, 10-2, maybe even 12-0. Look, I have a lot of respect for Canelo because of his impact on this game, his willingness to be active, what he meant for the sport.
Right.
But at his highest peak in terms of skill and ability, I would say the Golden Boy.
The Golden Boy did close out the shows, correct?
Here's the fringe contender. Imagine Bud got undisputed Charlo right after Spence. Well, they weren't playing ball. No Canelo, Charlo, or Crawford Madrimal. Still would be the same trajectory to last night. And then Bud is very likely a 4-division undisputed champ right now. That's an amazing career. I mean, Mario, you talk about who fills the shoes of Canelo. I'll go another direction. Who fills the legacy or the resume of Crawford from America? Again, I don't know. I like Abdullah Mason, but he's going to run into the same problem. Shakur Stevenson, people still want to duck him.
So when I was talking to our boy Coppinger over there at the ring, I didn't. He had brought up because he was telling me he was talking to Teofimo Lopez, and that's how the Devin Haney fight got up. And I'm like, can you imagine if Teofimo would have said yes? And I think he was offered like $8 million, but they wanted 10, and just they got in the way. If he would have beat Haney and then would have fought Shakur, and let's say he wins that fight, dude, now he's in the position to kind of be,
and he doesn't retire 2 days after beating that guy because he did that before.
But both of those fights were actually on the docket, is what I'm saying.
Do you think either happens?
Oh, I think the Shakur one is going to happen.
I heard that might announce it.
They're going to announce it too. That's great.
Well, he's running out of options.
No, but I'm saying if he would have took that Haney fight, been victorious, and then go into the Shakur fight and somehow win.
Those are building blocks.
Bro, that now he would have been positioning himself, but the lack of that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You got to fight. You got to fight. And Teo does everything but fight.
Champions are not born. They're forged. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every setback, a lesson. But this is not just about winning. This is about turning the ordinary into the extraordinary and becoming undisputed. Available now.
Final Flurries.
Mario, real quickly before we get out of here, what was your Saturday transitioning into a Sunday like?
Dude, so we got out. I had to show up like at noon that day. You go over the...
That was your call time?
Yes, on Saturday. This is after drinking all night on Friday. Rehearse, go over the things, work out all the kinks, all that. We didn't get out of there till like midnight. I didn't want to risk missing my flight because I needed to be at the Emmys the next day. So we drove. I got home at 5 in the morning. All right. Slept a few hours. Had to be on the red carpet at noon. Okay. Ended up having a good red carpet, talking to all your favorite stars right there. It was hot. I was like somewhat kind of still
Maury,
like
did
in
you
a
have
buzz.
your bags packed and you took them to the arena and then you got a taxi or an Uber ready to go?
Yes, I had my buddy drove, and so we made it over there. And then went out, got a little dinner, went home, had to get up and come back to work today. So thank God everything worked out. It was a very successful weekend. That went good. Hey, something was funny happened at work today. I just wanted to mention. I thought it was random. Capri Suns. You know the drinks Capri Suns?
Oh yeah,
they're great, right? Did you consider that an '80s drink?
Yes.
Came out in 1982 here in the States. I didn't know this. It actually came out in the late 60s in West Germany. What? You know who did commercials for them and made it become a phenomenon all through the 70s? Ooh. You could see a bunch of commercials. Muhammad Ali.
Really?
That's a fun fact. And I said, I'm going to bring that up in the podcast today. Dude, look at there's Muhammad Ali commercials, him and Capri Sun only in West Germany all through the 70s. And then when it came
here...
Is
he speaking German?
No, I think he said because he's Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, so it's just dubbed.
Yeah, it's just dubbed. But then I was like, that's a fun fact. I didn't know because he was such a phenomenon, right?
Yeah, and I think the only national commercial he got here was with Raid, Roach Motel.
Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go do it. And I was like, I didn't know that. First of all, I didn't know Capri Sun was around since the late 60s.
Now, do they still have that straw they got to
Yeah, you got to pick. Do you remember the song? There's only one.
Yeah, but that's
great
tough,
taste
though.
and fun when you punch open one.
Yeah, but the thing is, you got to kind of poke at it.
Dude, you don't want to go too hard because you want to go all the way through.
Then you run the thing. It's always tough.
And you freeze them and stuff. I just thought that was kind of random. I was like, Muhammad Ali with Capri Sun.
So Capri Sun is the greatest. All right. Anyway, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule. Again, if you want to sponsor our show, info@boxbid.io. Email us and we'll get back to you. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Smoke, and Tim Frazier, this has been the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino.
Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to our show on YouTube. It's fun. It's funny. I break this guy's balls. His wig looks crazy every week, but it's still worth doing it. Check out these badass shirts we got right now. Check it out.
Even though Mario's on it, you'll still learn something, and it's still some insightful analysis. And then I bring the funny, and I don't know what he brings.
No.
What are you talking about? I'm the star of the show here.
You bring the grumpy.
Oh, but the grumpy. Anyway,
I'll bring
like
the
and subscribe.
Yes,
3
please.
Knockdown
We
Rule.
appreciate you.